Thanks to OPPO for sponsoring this video. So we're at like a weird, interesting time for smartphones. So on this hand, we've reached a peak. The black square box is like ubiquitous, kind of mundane, but on this hand, phones have become almost perfect. And this is leading companies to think a lot more about what to change and innovate in their phones. And right now, OPPO seems to be doing a really good job of this. So this is the OPPO Find X5 Pro. Let me tell you why, in a sea of rectangles, this one might be worth considering. Before I get to everything about the phone, I do want to thank you and I want to thank OPPO. I've been doing this for a while. It's been an awesome opportunity to give back and to thank you guys for supporting the channel. So you've got a chance to win $500 in the form of American Express gift card or other equal gift card, open to anyone in the world. Give the video a like. Leave a comment down below on what you would do with the OPPO Find X5 Pro, but be sure to leave your social handle in that comment so I can contact you if you win. All the information will be down below, open to anyone in the world. We'll run it for 2 weeks. Back to the video. So OPPO's been at the top of the game for a while, especially when it comes to design. They're not afraid to take chances like they have in the past with their Find N, or even the Find X from a few years ago. They've pushed the limits of design, and I'm here for that. And because of that, it lets them refine and hone in on what is essential with the phone, and then I think they nailed it with the X5 Pro here. So this is their updated creator design, and if you look at it, the name makes a lot of sense. It's unique, but also feels crazy high-end. So the back of this phone is nanocrystalline ceramic, and it gives it something different than typical frosted glass we've seen from a bunch of other manufacturers. So the goal here is to balance everything so it feels good in the hand and looks good to the eye. And speaking of balance, because of design and camera humps, which we'll talk a lot about, this phone actually sits relatively flat on a table. So there's not a bunch of wobble if you want to use it. That's a little thing, but one that I am very happy to see and one we don't see on a lot of phones. It just looks good. Having ceramic really on anything makes it feel premium, and that's the case here. Ceramic generally is durable as well. I imagine more durable than glass. I did not drop test this thing. I would still put it in a case, probably, but I would imagine you will be protected should it fall out of your pocket onto the floor. The most significant part of the design, like if you look at any phone nowadays, pretty much it's obvious, it's all about them cameras. OPPO went, I don't know what else to describe it. Let's say full force on the camera system, not only with the hardware, but with the software too that sort of makes those camera systems work together. So on the back, you got 3 cameras. So you've got a primary 50 megapixel sensor, a second 50 megapixel sensor, which is ultra wide. Actually, fun fact, if you care, they're actually the exact same one. And then you've got a 13 megapixel 2x telephoto, and you get 5-axis optical image stabilization, which I am going to talk a lot more about. I'm trying to talk about that in videos, but stick around if you shoot a lot of video. So the camera hardware is really top notch, but OPPO has focused a lot on the processing side of this. So the X5 is running the latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which I'll talk a bit more about, but it also has the MariSilicon X NPU, and this is a dedicated neural processor to help the camera with processing. All right, so let's talk about the photos. We tried a bunch of different scenarios and settings. So here's the ones that work the best. Like with every phone, when you're in a lot of light, the photos here look absolutely incredible. High contrasty, really punchy, especially look at the sky. It was a beautiful blue day here in Southern California. You can see how bright and vibrant the blue look at the green on this leaf. You can see how bright that is. What was surprising was how good the portrait mode did. The toughest thing for portrait mode on phones, which is all just processing, is generally either this, like putting your hand out, or like shooting through a chain link fence. But if you look at how it did with my hand, that's some of the best cutouts that I've seen. Now, if you like zoom all the way in, do some pixel peeping, you could see some areas where it's not perfect, but looking at it as an actual picture, I was really surprised with how good the photo looked. We did a couple shots with Courtney, and there was one shot where it confused a little bit a tree in the background, with his hair, but it did a really nice job with him as well. So night mode's also a big story here, and I will let you draw your own conclusions. For the most part, it does a really good job. These are not photos that I would want to blow up and put on a wall, but if I want to capture some friends, out and about at night, or capture something cool going on, it is very usable and works as advertised. But photos are just one part of the camera system. Sort of as years go on, video is becoming way more important, and I think if we're being honest, video has not been the strong point of many manufacturers the past few years. So OPPO's hoping to change that with the X5 Pro, and a lot of credit I think goes to the processor inside. What was especially surprising here was how well stabilization worked. And despite me running, it looks like pretty close I'm using a gimbal. This was incredibly impressive here. It did a really solid job with video. So we did get word that an OTA is gonna be pushed out towards the end of February, and will mainly improve the stabilization performance. So overall, like most smartphones, experience are gonna keep improving, especially with this phone, until it hits the market. And the same things we saw with the stills we saw on the video side. Contrasted colors, bright, vibrant images, does an incredible job with skin tone, sky, and the stabilization, quite frankly, blew me away. If you are using video right out of this phone to share or export, you'll be very happy. So OPPO led the way with their screens and hidden cameras, and the front of the X5 Pro is benefiting from all that experience. So the X5 Pro, it's rocking a 6.7-inch WGHD plus 120Hz LTPO display, and listen, this is really the sweet spot, and certainly on the higher end of displays. What you are getting is a variable refresh rate up to 120 Hz that makes the display feel and look as high-end as any other on the market. Display has really good color reproduction, ability to show up to 1 billion colors, and there's also really fine control for brightness. So you can adjust the display in 8192 levels too, which is awesome. So not only does it get bright, it also gets dark. I think that's one area that a lot of phones forget. Brightness outside is obviously super important, but when you're in a dark room, you want it to get darker as well. It's not gonna blow out your eyes. So I love a good display. I have a lot of bias towards displays. X5 Pro really delivers on that. Like I mentioned, powering all this is a new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1. I had a chance to go actually hands-on with this processor in Hawaii, of all places, which was epic and awesome a few months ago. Everything was good then, everything is good now. It feels fast and responsive like really every phone should. This one that we have is 12 gigabytes of RAM. I mean, it enables a ton of amazing features. We provide that much RAM, plus a really powerful processor. It's a really sweet recipe. Processor side, the phone has pretty much every other feature you'd hope for. There's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which what a clap for, inside that can be charged insanely fast. With a wire or USB Type-C, it can charge at 80 watts. 80. And when wireless charging, it supports up to 50 watts, and then 10 watts reverse wireless charging. I've never used a phone that charges that fast, which was awesome to see. I was so worried that it's gonna blow up, but I didn't have any heat issues. I had no problems with it. It seems like a magic trick when it actually happens. Plus the battery itself is huge, so charging fast and power is a winning combo. On the software side as well, just say there's a lot of apps that come pre-installed. There's a lot of folders there with a lot of applications inside of said folders. So I'll let you draw your own conclusion about that. It boils down to the OPPO Find X5 Pro is a really compelling device. It's packing the latest processing software and AI packaged in a really good design. And there's a lot of high-end phones out there. It's competing in a really top-notch market. But if you want a camera system that's going to work as advertised and shoot some of the most stable video you can get, while also rocking some amazing pictures and a really high megapixel package, this is an awesome choice. You're getting all of that, plus high-end materials and ceramic, a beautiful screen, and a phone that can last you upwards of 2 days. The OPPO Find X5 Pro deserves a look.